Hi guys, welcome back to the garage, and hello if you're new. This is the final part of our 425 engine rebuild. We're basically going to put back together the bits that are reusable. There's going to be some bits which won't be going back on, and some bits that will deliberately be left off because it's going to have to wait for it to go into the car because there'll be some minor jobs that need looking at. So we'll just plod on, and when we get to the end, we get to the end. So, as usual, it's waiting for us on the bench. So, let's go and have a look. Right, I managed to just get on the edge under there, just behind the diaphragm. Right, I hesitated for a minute there because I couldn't work out why the diaphragm wasn't coming out. So basically, to begin with, I cut down the diaphragm to see what was going on, and I couldn't. So I then had to grind through the centre of the outside of the diaphragm, which released that, eventually released that, and there was our rod, which attaches to the back of the pump arm, but it's all crudded up, which is why it wouldn't release. So there you go. Finally we got inside. But unfortunately, having got inside and given it a quick clean, it wasn't worth the effort, because the little flap valves that sit in there and there, behind that, which is held by three screws, don't look great, and also the three screws are absolutely rock solid. I've heated the alloy, I've tried all sorts to get them undone, and they're not coming. So sadly, that is the end of that pump, because even if I got a diaphragm, which you can get, I don't think you can get the check valves. I'll keep all the bits together until I double check that, but I'm pretty certain you can't get those. So that's the end of that. And while we're having a moan, we're not ready to fit it yet, but the oil cooler I've given it a coat of paint to smarten it up a little bit, and then where it fits with the cylinder head feed lines, I noticed again in the gasket set we were short a couple of washers, so I had to go out and get a set of 5 copper washers. I needed 4, but it came in a pack of 5, because once again it's not in the gasket set. So disappointing really. But anyway, we shall soldier on, and we will start by fitting the top end, I think. So we'll put the barrels and pistons on, and then we'll do the oil cooler. The circlets have arrived. That's the original type, which were also fitted to the traction avant, I believe. You can still get these, but I haven't found anywhere in Britain to get them. So I'm just using the ordinary eared type, which are far better, as I said before in another video, than the spring clip type which you get with aftermarket pistons. So in a previous video we put the piston in the barrel, I believe. So I have, we're dripping oil because I put loads of it in the barrel. The mating surface where it goes in there is all greased up with moly. The studs, which are in remarkably good condition, are also greased up. Not on the threads, but on the shanks. I squirted extra oil into the cam, big end bearing, into the followed holes. So everything's really well lubed up. So we just need to get the gudgeon pin in, which is a tight fit. Normally they're not too bad on genuine Citroens. So I'm just going to warm the piston and hopefully push it in, which means I may get in your way slightly, for which I apologise if I do. But I should just mention, of course, as well, that the arrow is pointing forwards on this piston, and that should be lined up ready to go, which I think it is. So we shall give it a light warm. Right, the circlip is in place on the other side. So if I lift the con rod, we might need a little tap just to get it started. Right, that took a little bit of lining up, but it's there. Right, that's a little tighter than I expected, and I got interrupted halfway through. So, it's in. Pair of needle nose pliers. Compress our circlip. And in it goes. Make sure it's in the groove, twist and turn, yep, good. And that should all slide together. Plenty of oil dripping out again. Better too oily than not enough. Right. I'm now going to apply a little bit of Molly on the seal where it hits the head. Right, there's a head. Springs and seals are on the pushrod tubes. Pushrods have got assembly lube at each end just to give a bit of lubrication. The mating surface is greased as we saw. That's it really. Oh, all three studs, when I checked, needed about 1/8 of a turn just to reseat them. So they're good and tight now, but they were very slightly loose, nothing major, but I'm glad I checked. So we need to get this in there without damaging our pushrod tubes, which, as we know, is all too easy. Are we in? I think we are. They're in place. Right, that's it started. The seals are in, the tubes are in. That should be okay. So we have our washers and our nuts. And then we just need to draw that down and make sure the push rods go properly in place. And then the sequence of tightening is in 3 stages. If my memory serves me right, I'll put the figures up at some point. And the final tightening takes place with the manifold on, the final torque setting. So I'll just nip them down for the minute while we build up the other side. And just take them down loosely. Push rods in their cups, which they are. Right. Okay, just gently nip down, and so we'll come back to torquing them later. Right, I will do the other side, which is exactly the same as that, and then we'll come back and do some other stuff. Okay, there's our cooler. It's going to mount there with the large bolts, which need a washer on each, and then each head feed needs a washer either side as well. So the bolts go through like that, and then a washer, then the head feed, and then the other washer. So I will stick this together. It is slightly awkward. Oh, still got some. I thought all of that was out. Let me just wipe that. I thought all of our fluid was out. That blew it out as well. That's just a little bit of cleaning fluid. Must be trapped somewhere. Right, anyway, back to where we were. So big bolt, and then, is that right? Yep. Washer, head feed, washer. Get this the right way around. Head feed, washer. Right. And then I think we shall have a small amount of grease on those threads that's going into alloy. Should have taken the lid off before I had them all out my hand. Yes, just a small amount of grease to discourage any corrosion between the steel and the alloy. Right, and if we're lucky, all of that will line up. Like so. And then up top we've got a large bolt with two washers, which basically the bolt fits through each washer, through the block, and just bolts up, which is, you can't see, but it's so straightforward that there's no point worrying about it. In fact, that's it done. So there you go. Oh, I've got the bloody thing on the wrong way around. What an idiot. Right. Too much chatting to the camera, not enough thinking. Right, so washer again. I forgot the washer as well, didn't I? Oh, you dozy git. Right, okay. Two washers. Let's get this on. It's a lot harder now, of course, because so that goes up there like that. It's a double-sided washer. It was two separate ones on the engine originally, but the gasket sets come with these, so that's what I'll have to use. I've blown through these to make sure that they are clear. I've oiled the threads, so that just fits on there like that, and into the head. Right, and then we have our little brackets. Which attach to there. It grips the rubber sleeve. So now I just need nipping up, which I'll do now and then bring you back because we're going to look at lock wiring these. So back in a second. Right, a quick look at the footage, as you will know from the caption. And the lock wiring sequence didn't come out. So, anyway, stainless steel wire. The wire goes through your bolt hole that you're attempting to secure. You pull it back on itself, so you've got the two ends together. You then trap the two ends side by side inside the jaws. Lock the pliers by sliding that down, which is quite hard. And then once it's locked, you just pull against the wire to tension it, and then just pull that backwards and forwards, which is on a spiral ratchet, which spins the pliers. And we just move you up, and there it is in place. Originally it was just looped through and wrapped around that, so I've actually twisted it next to the nut as well. So that's what it looks like. Neat. It leaves the tool these neat, twisted, even wires. So that should prevent it coming undone, which is its whole purpose. Okay, we'll put the manifold on. I have to put two metal tin cooling shrouds on first, which are not the greatest to fit on this one. Slightly bent on that side. Anyway, there you go. And then 4 gaskets. And then our manifold. Yep. And nuts and washers. You don't need to see me putting nuts on washers, it's fairly dull. So I'll bring you back in a minute when that's all bolted down. Right, that's in tight. I forgot to mention, I put copper slip on all the studs to make sure that it wouldn't seize up. Right, there's rocker covers, but first we need to do the final torque on the heads, which is quite low on these, as you will have seen already. I should have right front, I think. I don't suppose it matters. Check your manual for sequence. Right, rocker covers, new gaskets stuck with some grease. So we're not fitting the flywheel. We're going to discuss that in a minute. Your flywheel is cleaned up well, lost all the marks. Those 2 lines will probably show up worse in the camera than it is in real life, but those 2 lines there are just where the plate is sat. It's not ridged, it's not grooved, it's just a light witness mark really. Certainly reusable. I wouldn't hesitate to put that in a car of mine. It'll polish up even more once the clutch is working again. The flywheel won't be going back on because you should really fit new bolts, and given the other stuff I've found, I'll just supply it separately if I do sell it, and then people can decide what they want to do themselves. There's no point spending any more money on it. So there's the flywheel. There's a roller bearing in here, which is fine. It's been oiled instead of a bush, so that's okay. We don't have a carb for it. There's no point putting the engine breather on because it's bound to need replacing or overhauling, so there's no point doing that. The petrol pump, as we know, is no use, so there's no use doing that. Points, I could put the old points back in for the minute, I suppose, but whoever has this engine would probably prefer it like this. So really there's only the dynamo, and I'll leave it like that with the ancillary bits separate, so whoever has it can then attend to that and put the final cowlings on. So basically that's it. So the dynamo, there isn't really much to tell you, to be honest. It's going to slide in like that. It only goes in a short way. I'm going to grease all that. In fact, I shall do that now. Right, the dynamo had a little pip on it, which went over to the side. So it's going to go like that. And then you're just going to make sure, it's difficult to show, but basically the mounting bolts have got to line up with the holes as it goes in. So let me just try and line them up and make sure they will do just that. Yeah, they will. Okay, so that should, in theory, just tap down into place. That's it. No change there. Yep. Right. So we know they'll go in, which means our plate will go in. So I'll go in like that. That'll connect up to a plate as before. Brushes are reusable. They now spring up and down as they should. If you remember when we took it apart, that one was seized. So they're both working fine now. Little clips are on to give them that spring, and then that'll just get bolted on there. So it's bolted back on. There's a little cutout in this which fits over that little pip we saw earlier, which is on the side of the dynamo. So your points box wiring is there, which will plug in there, but I'm not fitting the points box just at the minute. And then that goes up to feed up into your loom. So the engine mounts on this have alloy base plates, unlike the later ones, which were sandwich steel, I believe, just got a steel plate. I'm assuming the later type will be a straight interchange for these, but either way, they're usable. They're not absolutely perfect, but they are usable. So they will live again. I could fit the engine mounts under cover, front cover, but really there's not much point because that's going to need sorting out when it goes into whichever car this goes into. So that's it. I don't think there's any point doing any more. So that should be a working, running 425 engine. So well worth the effort and well worth saving, because I think otherwise this would just be another one that would have been dumped on the scrap heap at some point, whereas in fact it's perfectly usable. Whether anyone will use it, I don't know, because people tend to go to 602 conversions nowadays, don't they? But anyway, somebody might want it, somebody might need it. You could stick it in an earlier car as a power upgrade, because under the bonnet, with the rocker covers changed to the old jelly mould types, most people wouldn't be able to spot the difference, really. So there you go. That's it. Thanks for watching. Call back to the garage. There's always some petrol head nonsense going on. And see you again soon. Bye for now.